It's not your fault. It's genetics. How many times have we heard that? We're going to talk about that a little bit today. Hello everyone, Semi-Retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today we're going to talk about the latest trend out there in the media that being obese is genetic. I have a few thoughts on where I think that came from, and we're going to hear from Dr. Barry where he thinks some of this is coming from. First, let me say, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're here. You may be asking yourself, what in the world's going on here, Bob? What are we watching? Well, you're watching me walk. I try to come up with some interesting things to say while I'm out here walking, but basically you're watching me walk. The thing that makes this at least exciting to me is that about 15 months ago, I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for more than 2 to 2.5 minutes without severe pain. Now I'm out here walking every day in this July heat. The main purpose of the channel is to show you that it's never too late to change your life. I've suffered from many different things over the last 40 years, and I am now in better health than I've been since I was in my early 20s. And now I'm 60 years old. So it's never too late to change your life. For those of you returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here as well. It means an awful lot to me that you spend just a few minutes of your day with me each day. Let's get into this. We've been hearing a lot recently that, oh, well, being overweight is a lot more genetic than we think it is. I don't believe that's true. My personal thought on where I think this comes from, if you stop and think about it, who taught you how to eat? Your parents. Who taught them how to eat? Their parents. So, since most of these studies today are done by just food questionnaires in general, it's called epidemiology, at least I think that's right, but they're doing food questionnaires and stuff to come up with their data sets to analyze. If you're from a certain area of the country where biscuits and gravy are the primary breakfast food, or pancakes with lots of maple syrup, or whatever the food is, then you're probably going to tend toward obesity. Is it really genetics? Or is it just what you've learned over the course of your life from your parents teaching you how to eat? I think that has a lot more to do with it. I mean, because if you think about it, if you're comparing questionnaires and tracking who all's obese and who's not, well, if your grandparents ate biscuits and gravy and pancakes and syrup every day, and then your parents ate biscuits and gravy, hang on, truck going by, and your parents ate the same thing, biscuits and gravy, pancakes and lots of syrup, and that's what you've been eating, along with, if you're from the South, you like sweet tea, I'm guessing. And I tried a little sip of sweet tea one time down in North Carolina. Why don't they call it tea flavored sugar? My goodness. It's like they make a 1-gallon pitcher of tea with 5 pounds of sugar in it. But anyway, if that's what your parents ate and you ate and their grandparents ate, then that's going to look like there's a genetic problem there. but it's not actually a genetic problem. It's just a learned behavior problem. You know, if you come from some tribe in wherever, where, you know, dropping a sledgehammer on your foot was a rite of passage into adulthood, well, you're probably going to walk with a limp. But can we then say that the limp is genetic? I don't think so. And I think that's the same thing we're battling here. Is, you know, we're making associations with these associative studies and trying to make the great leaps that just aren't there. Or we're assuming too much out of the associations. Before I kick it over to Dr. Barry, I do want to say everybody's doing a good job of getting their movement in. And I decided to come out today and get a walk in, even though we're under heat advisory here. It's supposed to be the hottest week of the summer, culminating in my get together with everybody up at the miniature golf course on Thursday, which is supposed to be the hottest day of the year. That figures. I scheduled this thing several months ago, and now going to be the hottest day of the year to be outside at the miniature golf course. But we'll still have fun. Okay, well, let's go ahead and hear from Dr. Barry, see what he has to say about all this. And I've heard recently that there are people out there now telling us that being fat is genetic.
Yeah. And this suddenly came about when some of the bigger type 2 diabetes medications had just gotten an FDA approval for the treatment of obesity, or they're about to get. There's a couple others that are working on getting a FDA approval for obesity right now. And so there's nothing that makes people give up quicker than telling them, hey, it's not your fault. It's just in your genes. Right. And when they believe that, they're like, well, there's nothing I can do about it then except take this pill or take this injection. And that's exactly what the big drug manufacturers want you to believe. And that's also the course of action they want you to take. They want you to spend $1,000, $2,000 a month, or make your insurance company pay that a month, so you can take this pill or injection and take care of your genetic obesity. Well, and so there are many principles here that are violated in biology. It takes many generations, thousands of generations for an animal as complex as a human being, for our genes to change enough where something like obesity could become epidemic. That takes thousands of generations. That didn't happen from starting in the 1970s. All our genetics didn't change, right? And so you could make a plausible argument that anybody born since 1980, they might have a slightly increased genetic potential for being obese or overweight. Maybe a tiny bit, maybe 0.1%. But no, you can't make the argument that somebody who was alive back when no one was obese. I can remember when I was in kindergarten, there was one obese child in my entire kindergarten grade. One. And now if you go to the average kindergarten, 30% are overweight or obese, or higher, depending on the city, depending on the country, the state in the United States. You can't say that, you can't blame that on genetics. But if a big pharmaceutical house pays you enough thousands of dollars, as is the case for many of these doctors, then somehow you're able to forget that biology. And you're able to say ignorant things like obesity is mainly a genetic disease.
Yeah, it's plenty warm out here today, folks. And this is the coolest day of the week. It's going to get hotter and hotter. I'm not looking forward to the walks over the next few days, but I am sort of looking forward to the walks, just to prove to myself that no matter how hot and sticky it gets, I can still get out and get a walk in. That's what I've got for you today, folks. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I will see you in the next one.